Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy R&R. This is your host Ryan.
And I'm Rob.
Let's jag off.
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan, Fantasy R&R.
This is a Jacksonville Jaguars episode, so if you were hoping for fantasy news, go fuck yourself, turn this off. Duval only here. Chiefs versus Jaguars is on the plate next week. Rob, we are very excited. We just saw one of the most miraculous comebacks in NFL history and NFL postseason history we've ever seen. The Jaguars trailing 27-0 at one point during the game, and then coming back to ultimately win 31-30 on a last-second kick by Riley Patterson. Why don't we just start there? I want to hear your thoughts on that last game, what you saw. You were at the game, so give us a little bit of insider information about what the stadium was like and your initial reaction when you saw that we were down 27-0.
Yeah, absolutely. So to backtrack it, just a week prior, I said as I was leaving, when they faced Tennessee to get into the playoffs, I said it was the best game I've ever seen. And then and then 1 week later, I'm leaving the stadium, watching them beat the Chargers, saying that was the greatest game I've ever seen. Third largest comeback in NFL history. I saw it with my own eyeballs. And I said it in halftime when it was 27-7. I go, this is eerily similar to the way the crowd was responding to the Tennessee game. Everybody clearly was so excited. Everybody was just built up, full of just wanting to celebrate. And it was a delayed response until, of course, 3 seconds left in the game. He kicks the field goal. There's triple zeros on the board, and everybody loses their mind. I'm talking about every single person. That stayed, mind you. I'm hearing stories of people who either left, fell asleep, woke up the next day and said, "What? We won?" You're not a true Jags fan. Get out of Jacksonville and go to LA. Go bolt to LA like all those other Charger fans did. Pathetic. How do you call yourself a Jags game and you don't watch that game and or stay at that stadium? Pathetic. To circle back to what we were talking about, my friend, it was awesome. That field goal was kicked. I lost 10 minutes of my life. I have no idea what happened. Got a hernia, true story. Celebrated way too much, but had such a good time. Totally worth it. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the type of momentum we are bringing into Saturday, into Arrowhead. And I'm ready to win this game, Ryan. What are you thinking, buddy? What are you thinking? What did you see when watching that game?
Yeah, well, that was very uninteresting. Thanks for that. What I was watching was a complete meltdown. I was at a oyster bar in Boston here with all the other assholes who are pissed off that the Patriots are not in the playoffs. So I walked in with my Jaguars gear, and I'm sitting there at the bar, and I asked the guy, at some point he's going to put the game on. The guy is going to put the game on for me. Then somebody sits down to the left of Stephanie, and I see this other bartender come up, change the channel to a college basketball game, and I'm like, all right, well, it's still not 8:15 yet, so whatever, they're going to change it when it gets to 8:15. We get to like 8:20, and I haven't watched any of the game. And I asked the guy, "Hey, are you gonna put the game on?" And the dude is like, "I have a request that we have the BU game on." And I just kind of look at him, silent for a second, no blinking, and at college basketball. This is wild card weekend. That's how little respect they have for the Jaguars, and that's how salty these New England fans are right now. To the guy that left me, he's like, "Oh, let him watch the game on the month." I'm like, "Yeah, let me watch the game. I was here first, and the Jaguars puke all over your fucking shitty team, the Patriots." So I was just, watching an absolute meltdown to the point where even I, in jest, said to you, I'm done watching this game. But when I say that, it's obviously sarcastic. I turn on almost every NFL game and watch it start to finish, no matter what happens. But I do admit I gave up on that team. I did not think they were going to win. There's not one part of me that could successfully say I would have predicted that comeback. There's not one part of me that would have bet on it in Vegas. However, we got lucky because we did pick the Jaguars to ultimately win, and I think they showed a lot of those characteristics of why we think they're going to win and could win this next game. Now, let me talk to you about this. Kansas City Chiefs coming up this week. That's who we're going to be playing. Patty Mahomes, somebody that you and me love, we have a lot of respect for. Kansas City 14-3 at the end of the season. One of those victories came against the Jaguars in Week 10. Now, we lost 27-17. We did force 3 turnovers in that game. I want to hear a few of your number crunches. So, why don't we crunch the numbers? Get out your green visor and get that little thing that goes chick-ching. All right, here we go. Rob, Give me those stats.
So we're both going to agree we're winning this game, correct? 2 thumbs up?
That is correct. I'm going to take the Jaguars to win.
Okay. I believe Kansas City is 8.5-point favorites, which coincides with the idea of what happened in Week 10, where we lost, like you said, 27-17. In that game, we missed 2 field goals. There was an Evan Ingram touchdown that was taken back. So let's just say there were points left on the field. So what I'm going to say now,
We're going to dive into some statistics here, okay?
yards per game. Now, this is for the regular season. Yards per game. Kansas City was number 1 in the NFL, 413.6 yards per game. Jacksonville Jaguars, 357.4, which was number 10. Passing yards per game. This is, again, the regular season. Kansas City, number 1, Patrick Mahomes, 297.8. Trevor Lawrence, 232.9, which makes him number 10 in all the NFL this year. We're looking at 2 top 10 quarterbacks, 2 top 10 offenses going at it. Push it a little further. Again, we played them in Week 10. Bye week was Week 11. I am not including a playoff game here because Kansas City didn't play, so it's not fair. Since Week 12, the final 7 games of the season, this is where it gets interesting. The Chiefs, as a whole, averaged 28.4 points per game. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 26.8.
Yeah, very, very close.
Very, very close. Both teams in that 7 games, 6-1, both teams. That's where Jacksonville made their amazing run. Went from 9.9% chance of making the playoffs in Week 9 to making the playoffs and beating, again, the said Titans. And now making this run, which has been phenomenal. Patrick Mahomes, he was averaging, again, since Week 12, so 7-game sample size. Patrick Mahomes was averaging 283 yards per game. He threw for 13 touchdowns and had 5 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence averaged 254 yards per game, had 12 passing touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. And we're realizing Trevor Lawrence, you know, who we said was taking this next step, is the numbers speak for themselves. And Trevor Lawrence, you know, we're putting Patrick Mahomes on this pedestal. He's number 1. Trevor Lawrence taking this next step is looking Mahomes-esque.
Yes.
And that might sound kind of wild, but the numbers are here. One more final number. I'm going to nerd out just a little bit more. We know Patrick Mahomes to be a runner, right? That's part of his game. We've known that for as long as he extends plays. He's got sidearm action. He's phenomenal. So I looked into the rushing between both quarterbacks through the whole 2022 season. Patrick Mahomes, again known as for his running, had 61 attempts, 358 yards rushing, and 4 touchdowns. Mr. Trevor Lawrence, 62 attempts, 291 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Kind of eye-opening. And that's through the whole season. So for as much as we love to think Patrick Mahomes being this great runner who can extend the play, Trevor Lawrence can do the same thing. We're looking at 2 offenses who have been clicking the last 7 games. We're looking at identical records at 6-1. And we could be talking about these 2 quarterbacks one day, if not today, as the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL. Call me crazy. And I know there's Josh Allen. I know there's Joe Burrow. I know there's a bunch of other quarterbacks. But we're looking at a generational talent at Trevor Lawrence. And halfway through this year, essentially, it clicked.
The question really is going to come down to how do we stop Mahomes, not how do we stop Mahomes and a lot of other people. Now, the Jaguars have always pretty much been bad against the tight ends all year, and that's why, we took like Gerald Everett in one of the lineups last week with the second season. Thought he might be able to cut through the defense a little bit. As you were saying, with our safety issue, you see a lot of plays get killed across the field, and the one thing we're going to have to worry about is Travis Kelce. But if we can take Mahomes out of the equation enough, you'd think that wouldn't be a problem. What we have to do is take Kelce out of the equation, because I don't think the answer to stopping Mahomes is what some of our classic defensive schemes have been like. Now, right now, we're basically running, base 3-4 with Mike Caldwell, and we're seeing them, change up the looks. We don't really have an edge rusher. I guess the closest thing is Josh Allen, the way we use him, kind of move him around there. Now, I would prefer not to see any blitzing, because our defense has been prone to blitz, especially last year, and this year it's been kind of a different story. We're getting our sacks. We're not necessarily blitzing a whole lot, but I think in this situation, you do not blitz Mahomes. He's so good on the run. He can make a throw from any angle. He can make it with his eyes closed, eyes to the side, sidearm, falling down, trailing backwards. This guy's an absolute killer. He's not like other quarterbacks. The more you pressure him, the more he seems to succeed, and we're going to leave some of those players wide open down the field, like, if Sky Moore plays and all that kind of stuff. Like, those guys are going to be hanging there, Juju on the side, and they'll just wait for that to come if he can't hit Kelsey across the middle. So we're really going to have to play some, tight man coverage here, I think, and really lock up the defense with maybe some alternates of prevent. Like you were saying, that's a good strategy. And we're going to have a QB spy, right? Exactly. Like almost every play.
Yes,
so with 11-man personnel, it's like, we'll see what Mike Caldwell can come up with to do that. But that's going to be how this game goes. Now, I'm going to go through the odds real quick before I get into your score prediction and everything. But right now, Vegas has got Chiefs versus Jaguars. This is in Arrowhead Stadium, where it's going to be very loud, overwhelmingly Chiefs fans. Kansas City is negative 8.5 on the spread, so Jags are 9-point underdogs here. The over-under is 53 points. I'd probably take the under on that, and I'll explain why in a second. Chiefs versus Jaguars money line here. Kansas City at negative 455, Jacksonville at plus 345. For those who don't know, that means on Kansas City, if you lay down $455, you'll win 100. Jacksonville, if you lay down 100, you'll win 345. Just a quick notable statistic: Chiefs are 1-7-1 against the spread in their last 9 home games. Jaguars are 1-5-1 in their last 7 meetings with Kansas City against the spread. So with that being said, obviously you and me are picking the Jaguars to win. I want to do a quick score prediction with you, and then I want to hear the player that's going to make the most impact for the Jaguars and the player that's going to make the most impact that we have to stop Kansas City. I basically already did this, and I just want to hear your thoughts. So my score prediction here is I think it's going to be a close game, 27-24. I think it's going to come down to the wire again, and I think both Mahomes and Trevor are going to shine, but maybe get a little stymied by the creativity of playoff divisional defense football. So with that being said, 27-24. Rob, I want to hear your score prediction, and to end the show, tell me who you think is going to make the biggest impact for the Jaguars to get that win, whether it's Doug Peterson or anybody. And I also want to hear who we need to stop with Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm going very close game, very, very similar to what you're saying, but I believe it's going to be what I saw against the Chargers. That'll be something closer to a score of Jacksonville 35, Kansas City 33. I think it's going to be a close one. I think if Jacksonville can get up quick and make Kansas City come from behind, and we go toe-to-toe and essentially play we're going to have to play a perfect game here. So no more of these 4 interceptions, 1 half. That is not going to cut it against Kansas City. No way, no how. Jags got to come up to a big lead. They have to hold on to it, and this is the only chance we're going to win. Defense steps up big the way they've been playing pretty much since week 12. Defense has been lights out. Similar to what you're saying, do not rush Patrick Mahomes. Do not give him free yards, and we have to control the clock. So my player has to be Trevor Lawrence. It has to be. From all the statistics I'm saying, he has to know the weight of the Jaguars are on his shoulders, and he cannot be stymied in this game. He has to ball out. He has to control the clock. He has to run. I think Trevor Lawrence has to gain 50 to 75 yards. Essentially, Trevor Lawrence needs to be Patrick Mahomes for Jacksonville to win this game. I think that's the best way to put it. This isn't us making some ridiculous claim. This is us going, hey man, he's like a step behind him, and he's really, really good to boot. When it comes to Kansas City, it is who it is. It's the man, Travis Kelce. We as you had stated, and as I keep saying, Jaguars are going to end up having to draft a safety first round. The middle of the field is way too wide open. I think Gerald Everett had 100 yards receiving last week, first time in like 10 weeks. I mean, it was something ridiculous. And then both tight ends for Tennessee, they tore us up. So, of course, it's going to be Travis Kelce. But we do a QB spy. We have Cisco standing in the middle of the field constantly. Let's not rush Patrick Mahomes. There's too many flags for roughing the passer, and you know he's going to get all of those calls. Don't rush Patrick Mahomes. We have to have that pretty much double coverage on Travis Kelce, and when it comes to their receivers, they don't scare me. Their running game doesn't scare me, and their defense doesn't scare me. And that's where I feel like the Jaguars, honest to goodness, we might be the only ones making this claim, kind of have an upper hand in this game. We're not one-dimensional. The way, as we've said all year long, with Tennessee being the Tennessee Derrick Henrys, in my opinion, it's the Kansas City Mahomes and Kelce show. And that's it. And if you can, if we could substantially stop both of them, who are they going to turn to? Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, CEH, Pacheco? No. But we have, and we've shown it, where one part of our game was faltering, the other part picked it up, and we've been winning these games. And one more point really quick. I know they're coming off a bye week and people are like, oh, they're going to be well rested. Sometimes you want to be playing. You want to be hitting on all cylinders. You don't want to stop. And that's what Jacksonville's been doing. And they've been winning really close games. And that's why I believe we're going to win yet another close game, slay a huge giant in the Chiefs, and we're going to move on and play either the Bills or Bengals next week. Let's go, Jets.
I definitely agree. Let's see if we can just pull off one more piece of magic. Obviously, it's not over till it's over at this point. I bet you by the end of this game, Trevor Lawrence is going to be taking that burger out of Andy Reid's hand. He's going to walk over to Waffle House, sit down, take a nice big old bite, and it drips down all over the pants like I just did because we jagged off. Let's go, Jags. 2 words. Once again, this was Robin Ryan with Fantasy R&R. We will see you next time.